Hi everyone. I'm Professor Colosimo. I teach geology here at the college. I have for, I think this is my 22nd year. Um, by keeping my lights off, I look young, so you can't really tell how old I am. You want to introduce yourself, Professor Barone?
Hi, I am Professor Barone, and I also teach geology here at MCC. And I have been here even longer than Professor Colosimo. And we've been teaching this course or an iteration of this course for like, I don't know, 12 years?
Something like that, yeah.
What? Yeah. So it's just really fun. And so we're going to tell you a bunch about it today. And then if you have questions, we'll stop for like time for questions and stuff like along the way. Um, so just so you know.
So let's start with the little structure of this class. So this is a 4 credit class, and the first 10-ish weeks or so are going to be lectures that basically, and not just lectures, because we never just lecture, especially at night for 3 hours. So it will be a series of brief lectures with hands-on activities on Tuesday nights. And the goal of that is for you to learn kind of all the things that you need to know to maximize the experience when we go out west. So they will start March 3rd and go through finals week on Tuesday nights. And then from June 1st through June 10th, we will lead y'all to several national parks and monuments. And our goal for today is to tell you a little bit about how the class is structured, how grades are typically assigned in the class, and then to tell you a little bit about what you can expect if you choose to partake in this activity. What do you have to add?
Yeah, and we'll talk a lot about the logistics because I know the cost is something that's important. So we'll talk about this. And again, there will be, we'll email everyone an information sheet so you have all of the details that you need.
Yeah, so you don't have to struggle to take notes at all today. We'll send you all of this information.
Yeah.
But that said, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat or unmute, and we are happy to chit chat. But when we had our first info session yesterday, there were tons of questions. Um, so we're going to start with the boring part and end with the fun part. How's that? Our first slide is what sort of things you learn about in the class. So this class is not, you do not need any prerequisites in any science class, any geology class, anything like that to take the class. That said, there will be students who've taken a bunch of geology. So during the class, during the lecture class, when we do a lot of small group work, we make sure that students who have more geology are placed with students who have less geology. So by the time we go on the trip, everyone has a really good understanding. If a lot of times there'll be students who audit, who just want to take the class really because they want to learn a little bit, but they don't necessarily want to grade. So for those students, they have the option of participating as much or as little as they want to in the lectures beforehand. We do encourage you to come to all the classes or as many classes as you can, honestly, because it's a good time to build rapport with your classmates because you will be in a pretty confined space with one another for 9 or 10 days. So it's good to build some relationships before we end up in Wyoming. Um, so these are just some of the topics that we'll talk about in the class. I'll let you do this because you did it so well yesterday.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Hi. So throughout lecture, we will be doing a lot of kind of basic geology, but then we will be emphasizing volcanoes and volcanism and volcanic features because we're going to a super volcano as a big part of this course. We're going to be traveling through different mountain chains. So we'll talk about how mountains form. One of the sort of big topics that's super important to understanding just the geology of North America is regional geology. So we'll look at how the continent changed over time and how our field sites are related to that. And then sort of on a different scale, we'll talk about weathering, erosion, and those kinds of features that form from interaction with rainfall and rivers and sort of the atmospheric processes. So we'll be doing all of these things. And as Professor Colosimo said, we will build and combine sort of lecture with a lot of hands-on sort of lab activities. So we're not talking for over 3 hours and you're not sitting there for over 3 hours a night without like doing things.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that all the pictures that you're going to see in this presentation are actually from field sites. So this is a picture of one of our field sites in Idaho, and this is a lava flow that's just over 2,000 years old, which is kind of young geologically speaking, but old in terms of humans, I guess. Yeah. Did I cut you off? Did you have more to say?
No, I think I was just going to talk about the breakdown of lecture, but we'll actually see that on another slide. So
Okay.
let's just get to that. That's
Okay.
cool.
Cool. All right. We also like to set expectations. We've had students go on this trip and think that they are going on a vacation, and they are not going on a vacation. This is a class. And so that said, we had students there yesterday who've taken other ones of our field classes. And even though this sounds like a long day, and it is a long day, they love it so much they come back for more just to take the same class in a different location. So our days are long and they're planned to be long because we want everyone to get the most out of the money that you pay for this class. So we don't always leave at 7 a.m. every morning, but there might be a day that we leave at 7 a.m. The latest I think we've ever rolled out of a hotel is about 8:30 or so. And again, that's because we're burning daylight at that point. So we get our, and by that, I mean, like you're checked out of the hotel if we're leaving that day and all your stuff is in in your van and you are getting ready to leave to drive to our field site. When we stay in national parks, we will wake up in our field site, but most days we will be driving a little ways at least to get to our first stop. So when we get to a stop, it's also, I want to make sure that we're clear that like we build in time for the unexpected. We build in time for you to take everything in. You can take a million pictures. There are sometimes students will get up early if they want to take a special hike with just not by themselves because that's not safe, but with other students to wander around. We stop at visitor centers for a little shopping when people want that. But when we get to a field site, you'll have a field notebook, which I have.
I was just gonna, you have one?
I don't know. Yeah,
I have one right here.
I do.
Oh.
You win. So you'll get this waterproof, it's called Write in the Rain field notebook. And that's because you can actually write in the rain, like while it's pouring on you or snowing or sleeting on you, you can continue to take adequate field notes. And we will give you one of these when you start the class and you will keep very good care of it because it is like your little diary. So when we get to a field site, we might have some notes for you, some directions. And so we'll tell you what your goal is. And then we'll be like, all right, you have 45 minutes to collect this sort of data. And you'll go around with a partner or two and do whatever the task is assigned. We'll make sure that there's no question that you know what you're doing. And then you'll walk around and you'll collect data. And sometimes we'll be in some steep terrain. There's probably 2 hikes on this trip that I have to prepare for mentally each time. And sometimes, I mean, it's irregular. We're not always walking on paved roads. We're rarely walking on, well, there's boardwalks and stuff like that, but not all the time. So we'll be off trail sometimes as well. But you'll be hiking. We probably don't hike more than like altogether, like 3.5 or 4 miles a day. And that's broken up. Most of our hikes are like 1.5 miles or less each time. It'll be cold in the morning. Sometimes we wake up in Yellowstone and there might be like a little dusting of snow, even though we're going in June, because it's in the mountains. And sometimes when we're in Idaho, by the end of the afternoon, it might be really hot because you're standing on an old lava flow and there's no trees around. So we tell students to prepare for a variety of weather conditions. Usually that means dressing in layers. So you might have like a long sleeve t-shirt and then like normal, like a short sleeve t-shirt and then a sweatshirt. So stuff that you can take on or take off during the day to keep you comfortable. Comfortable walking shoes is also important. So along the way, we don't know exactly where we will be for lunches most days because unpredictable things happen when you're driving around, as you probably know from your own life. So, what probably doesn't happen in your own life is that, like, suddenly we're stuck on the road because there's like a small herd of bison crossing the road. So, we can't make the bison move. And so, other times there might be like elk along the side of the road or like a bear or anything like that could happen. Sometimes you get caught in hard rain. So wherever we happen to be for lunch, we will stop when people get hungry and it's a reasonable lunch break. Most of the time we try to do that at at picnic tables or under pavilions. Um, Occasionally that doesn't work out and we end up kind of making sandwiches on the side of the road. That's not ideal, but it happens. And the sandwiches we make are usually things that don't need to be refrigerated. So what we'll do is when we first get to our to Salt Lake City, we will buy a whole bunch of groceries. Most of that for lunch we have peanut butter and jelly. If you have an allergy to peanut butter, that's fine. We'll figure something else out. Otherwise, peanut butter and jelly doesn't have to be refrigerated for a week. So it's ideal because then we're not worrying about ice every day. You'll have some granola bars, we'll have some fruit, we'll have some chips, we'll replenish as the trip goes on. And we always have access to water, but we expect you to bring a water bottles to minimize our impact on the earth. And so our days, if they start at 7 a.m., they'll probably end at 7 p.m. 10 to 12 hours is pretty normal. Occasionally, if we have really long days, like sometimes we've had occasions where we're not eating dinner much before 9 p.m. Not much after that because nothing is open in Wyoming after that. So we do our best to stay punctual. But they're long but fantastic days. Like you'll go to bed tired but happy pretty much every day. Would you say?
Yeah, so I think you covered pretty much everything on here, but I did want to stop for 1 second and see if anyone that has any questions so far about what we're doing. We're going to get into the actual like field locations and um definitely the other logistical info, but does anyone have anything they want to ask right now?
Yeah, like I would like to ask about like facilities. I take a diuretic and I put visits out there, but I would love to. I'm an outdoor person, and I would love to be able to participate if possible. But I was just mainly concerned about being able to use the lab.
I missed the beginning of what
Yeah,
you
me
said.
too.
Oh, I said not to put my business out there. I take a diuretic, so like laboratory. Being
Oh,
able to use the bathroom.
yes.
Yeah.
We are women of a certain age. We make sure there's laboratory steps.
That's my main concern. I thought about it. Like, I love the outdoors and I don't want to be unladylike, but, you know, I will do crouching high tiger, hidden dragon behind a tree if I got to, but, it would be nice to be able to wash my hands and things when I'm done.
We couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, I mean, we make sure that we have plenty of stops. Although it doesn't mean that like everywhere we are, it's going to be like instantly located like
Yeah.
nearby. But we don't go too far out into wilderness where there's nothing. But I can think of a few spots that would be a little bit more difficult. But then you could maybe find a tree. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't have a problem with that. As long as no one looks down on me for doing it, I'll be okay. Um, the next question is, what's the most wildest thing you've seen out there on the walks?
Um,
I
so I'm
mean,
not sure that we've encountered anything on a walk, but we have been in a van where like there's grizzlies like 10 feet from the van.
I
Like
like grizzlies, but I'm scared of them too. I would love to see that. That's my whole point. Like I'm a grizzly fan, so yeah.
well, I would say, yeah, we've seen them, but we follow the rules in the parks and we don't get near the wildlife and especially a grizzly.
Right.
Generally the park rangers are out there getting everyone away from the grizzlies and the bison and the elk. So we are big safety first in the park and rule followers and respecting the nature, but it's amazing when you actually see, if you've never seen a bison in real life, it's like nothing.
No.
They're amazing and gigantic, and we definitely will always see bison. We always see elk, grizzlies. We've seen, but I don't think we've seen them every time.
Right.
Gotcha. Well, I hope to see one. Okay, I guess I'm questioning you to death. The next question is like, are we camping or glamping?
Oh,
Neither.
we're doing either, but
Okay.
we'll get to that. Yeah, we're hoteling and cabining.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I can live with a cabin. I've done cabins before. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to get the logistics of,
Sure.
what I'm running myself into.
Yes, we're going to talk about a bunch more of that as we go through the rest of this. But yeah, we stay in motels slash hotels and some cabins. Yeah, we
Okay.
don't call anything really a hotel.
So if we're gonna do cabins, are we allowed to slap a piece of meat out there on the fire? I mean,
Oh, well, you'd have to figure out how to refrigerate it. That would be the biggest thing.
so we can't stop to a store and get a just one special piece of meat and
Well,
just burn it.
no.
Nah,
Well, there's nowhere to start a fire in a park that we'll be at. Yeah, we can chat more about that, but you won't.
yeah. Not to cut you off. I'm not a PB&J fan, but I will eat when I'm hungry. That's just period. But like I'm old. I've gotten old, so my digestive system requires hot things most times. So that's the only reason why I asked.
So we're not always near something like, so a lot of the places that we're going, and Abby, I do see your question in the chat, so I promise we'll get to you. A lot of the places that we're going, fire is like a huge environmental issue. So we're often not allowed to, there's no, like when you go to parks around here, there's those little like grills and
Grill.
everything, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you won't see that out west, because one of the things you'll learn about in class is this is an area that's super prone to wildfire, so they don't allow you to do that at all in the parks, unfortunately. I know what you're saying. I also am not a fan of the PB&J. I make it work in a couple different ways. I I buy different stuff at grocery stores for sure. We do stop. Well, I mean, we have to gas up vans. So when we're at gas stations, you absolutely have access to stuff, for sure.
Okay,
But
do
yeah,
that. That's reasonable. I mean, I've traveled enough where gas stations have some real eclectic things sometimes, so I can live with
this is the truth.
Um,
that.
oh, Abby, we see your question. We don't tend to carry bear spray. We've never needed it. We've never carried it. I don't think you can fly with it, so you'd have to buy it when you're there and then leave it there. We've never needed it because no one wanders by themselves, like you're always with a few people, and bears don't really want anything to do with a few people. Um, so I know like we've gone out west many times and we've never had bear spray. Some people think it's a necessity, but again, you can't fly with it, so you have to get it when you get there and then leave it there. So, I don't know. What do you say about that, Amanda? I know
I would say that the research on bear spray is mixed also. So in some cases, bear spray will deter bears, and in other cases, it just makes them real mad. So we have a very strict buddy rule. No one in bear country is walking around by themselves ever. And that's why. And it's not even just bears. Sometimes like elk will have babies around the time that we're out there, and elk also don't want you near their babies too. So,
and neither do bison don't want you near any them or their babies. So we just keep our distance as the park rangers tell us, and as the rules are, and we don't. Again, we've never had. I don't want to. I don't know if there's anything wooden in here. We've never had any issues with any of the animals that we've um seen out there.
yeah. Jade, you have your hand up.
So I heard you mention that we will be flying, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So is it like, do we all meet up together at the airport?
Yes. Give us 1 sec. We'll get to that, I promise.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a whole thing. You don't have to get yourself there. We all meet
Yeah.
together and go together.
Okay, awesome. Because I've never flown before and I will somehow end up
Awesome.
in Canada. So,
Oh,
yeah.
No
yeah.
worries.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, let's I guess sort of start the where we're going, and then we can look again at the some of the logistic stuff that might answer some questions.
Absolutely.
So we all go, we gather at the airport, and at the Rochester airport, and we get on a plane together, probably very early in the morning, because when you fly west, you take early flights, and then we have a nice full day in Salt Lake City and around Salt Lake City. Our first day and our first field site is actually what you see in the picture. We go to the Great Salt Lake, and we go to this island within the lake, and we talk about sedimentary environments of deposition and salt and all sorts of stuff. And so that's the first day, and then we head to our lodging somewhere. On the way, do you want to tell them on the way, Colosimo?
Yeah. So Utah is a state where there's a very distinct culture, let's just say, and everything is closed on Sundays. So we literally scheduled our trip around Sundays because the best breadsticks you'll ever have in your life are sold in this restaurant just outside of Salt Lake City. They're like the size of your head. So we will have dinner at this pizza pasta bar that has gigantic breadsticks. I talk about them too much. It's
That's
embarrassing.
why we planned this trip around having the place open on Mondays. We should make sure it's open on Mondays. It's definitely not open on Sundays, which we learned the hard way.
That is a very
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's our first day, and then we'll head to lodging, and we'll give you information on where we're staying in our handout specifically.
Yeah, I think that's the day that we stay at the Best Western in Coaldale, Utah. So it's kind of
Oh.
leaving Salt Lake City, heading towards Wyoming.
Colville. Yep.
So the next day we will drive through some of the smallest places you've ever been. So here is Shell, Wyoming, which has a population of 50 and an elevation of 4,210 feet. And then here is Aladdin, Wyoming, which has a population of 15 and an elevation of 3,700. So smallest places likely you've ever been. Also, for many of you, probably the highest elevations you've ever been to. So what you'll see is that we gradually increase in elevation throughout the trip. And the reason we do that is because it takes your body a couple days to acclimate to being at higher elevations. So here you're somewhere between probably about 250 and 500 feet of elevation. And we're going up, I think our highest points, will be, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 feet, do you think, at the Tetons?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that takes some time to get used to. What you'll notice is that it'll be a little, when you're hiking, you'll definitely be out of breath faster. You'll want to drink a lot of water because that'll help, because sometimes people get headaches, but it's nothing we haven't experienced with students before or ourselves. So we know what to look for, and it's fun. It's fun. You'll be fine. It'll be good.
Just something to notice, yeah, but to be aware of, but yeah.
Yeah.
We've never had, again, another thing that we warn people of, but have never had any issues with. And we do a whole safety presentation before we go also, just with some reminders.
Yeah. So we crisscross a lot of Wyoming on this day. I changed the date on this, by the way.
The date.
Oh, yeah. Because I think it doesn't matter. So if you've ever played that game, the Oregon Trail, as a kid, we will crisscross a lot of places that are on the were on the Oregon Trail, where settlers first crossed the great United States on their way to the West Coast. So one of those spots is Independence Rock. And there's Wyoming, parts of it are so flat and nothing that, like, the little blobs of rock, they do end up being like pretty significant spots. So Independence Rock is one of the places on the Oregon Trail. You can see where some of the ruts from the Conestoga wagons were carved into the landscape. We do a field assignment here, but students have a lot of fun at this first stop, kind of like climbing around. Some of them I have never climbed onto the top of this, but students will climb all the way up to the top of this. There are like little baby bunnies that live all around here, and the students, snakes, there's like giant snakes on the top. It's like another reason for me to never climb to the top, but they're there.
You're not required to climb to the top. You're required to do the project around the base of it, and then there's always time if people want to like climb to the top of it.
So Independence Rock is protected, but that's because it has some historical significance. I don't know if this is hard to see on my screen or yours, but this is so as people were first traveling across the United States, they would carve their names into Independence Rock. And so this is the signature of a Private Cudahy who was in the 4th Cavalry in Wyoming. And so there's like really cool old school like graffiti, which you're not allowed to do anymore because, but it's cool. And then I think we see another spot on the Oregon Trail. I think it's called Devil's Gate or something like that,
Yeah.
just the road as well. And I think we spend that night in maybe Gillette, Wyoming, at the Wheels Motel, I think, which is nicer than it sounds.
It is nicer than it sounds. The Wheels Motel. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, so then we continue to, if you're wondering where we are on the map, we started in sort of the southwest corner of Wyoming. Independence Rock is like in the middle. And then the next morning we get up and we head to Devil's Tower, which is the very northeasternmost corner of Wyoming. And this is just an amazing spot to go to. We walk around the whole tower, and the students have a project collecting data related to the columns that we see, and trying to figure out the origin of this feature and describe the rock type. And then get to kind of climb around a bit on what are called talus slopes, which are the big piles of rock along the base of Devil's Tower. No one will be climbing the tower. Someone asked yesterday, that's not an option on this trip, but if you ever go back on your own time where we don't have to worry about your safety, you can get right on up there.
Yeah.
What
And then
tower?
I was going to say that like this is part of why we kind of diagonal across Wyoming, and every time we do this, we look at the map and we're like, wow, this adds so much time to the trip. But at the end of the day, students love Devil's Tower so much that we're like, well, we can't take it out of the trip. Oops. And Devil's Tower is actually the first national monument in the United States. And the next day, we will leave the first national monument to enter the first national park in the United States. And on the way, we will drive up and over the Bighorn Mountains. The last time we crossed over the Bighorn Mountains, we saw 11 moose. It was wild. There were moose and their babies, and it was like National Geographic.
That was one of the most amazing, yeah. And then there were like teenage moose. There were just moose everywhere. It was amazing. We can't guarantee moose. We've crossed them, and we've also seen like sheep up there.
Yes.
In the past, or goats, sheep, goats.
Yeah.
Wildlife.
So part of the reason that we go this first week of June is really because Yellowstone is one of the most popular national parks and has like 3 million visitors a year. And most of them are in June, July, and August. So we try to go as soon as we can before like K-12 kids are out of school, so that like we have it as much to ourselves as we can. So we will enter Yellowstone National Park, which is a giant super volcano where there's a big rim where it collapsed previously. And we will start our journey in Yellowstone along the rim where you can see part of the collapsed caldera, and we will see Yellowstone Lake, and it is awesome. We stay in Yellowstone for a few days, and we stay at these cute little yellow. Oh, thanks, Ruth. Yeah, that sounds great. We'll send it all to you. Thank you. We stay at these cute little yellow cabins that are right outside this hotel where Teddy Roosevelt stayed when he was being convinced to make Yellowstone part of the national park system. And anyway, I'll pause and let you talk.
Oh, yeah, I could talk for like ever about Yellowstone, but I won't. But it is a really, really large park, and so we see so much of this, like of like certainly the highlights of it. You know, you've probably heard of Old Faithful, and you may have heard of Grand Prismatic Spring. There's Grand Prismatic Spring, and so we make our way around, and we have worked it out where we oftentimes are able to avoid the areas with the largest crowds by getting to them first thing in the morning. We do a lot of projects, and it's just a really enjoyable place. Where we're staying, there's this amazing lodge where you can like do homework assignments at night if we have homework, which happens once in a while, where we have breakfast and dinner, and there's a front porch that overlooks the lake, and you can have coffee on it. And it is just one of my favorite places, like in the United States of America, and I'm excited to bring people there for sure.
Yeah, there are, if you've seen documentaries about like wolves in Yellowstone, there are wolves. We have maybe seen one. It's hard sometimes to tell the difference between wolves and coyotes, but we've definitely seen multiple there have been multiple iterations of where we've seen what we would like to pretend are wolves. If we get there, depending on the winter, sometimes you'll see sea otters if there's still some ice on the lake in that early part of the summer, but it's pretty magical. It's pretty magical.
Speaking of magical, our next stop.
Is Grand Teton National Park, which is just south of Yellowstone. They're connected by this roadway called the John D. Rockefeller Parkway. And it's great. So sometimes some of the animals like the elk and the bison from Yellowstone migrate down into the Tetons at different points in the year. And you'll definitely see bison and elk in the Tetons. Often we see moose in the Tetons as well. So the Tetons are this like relatively small 50-mile long mountain range. They're just beautiful. We will, while we're there, can you see my mouse while I do this?
Yeah, I can see your mouse.
Okay, cool. So we'll take a little boat ride across one of the lakes that are at the base of the mountains called Jenny Lake, and we'll hike up, certainly not anywhere near here. Well, we'll do one of our more significant hikes. We'll hike up to the Tetons to this place called Inspiration Point, but it's like majestic, and you can see so much of the of Jackson Hole, which is where we'll be staying that night. This first day, it's pretty magical.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jackson Hole
Yeah.
is a
Oh, I'm
small
sorry.
town. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, when we do our hikes, we'll see a bunch of these glacial features from like high up on the mountains, which are hard to see from the surface. And we'll just be traveling through, like, I feel like the rocks go up to billions of years in the Tetons. So
Yeah.
quite a range of rocks and structures, and much more recent features like the lakes and the glacial features. So it's not all about the animals. It's all about the geology with the animals. It's both. It's so amazing. These places we're going are just remarkable. Anyway, go on with Jackson Hole. Yeah.
So we stay in a town for the next 2 nights it's called Jackson, Wyoming. And Jackson is kind of in the winter, it is a ski town. And in the summer, it is a big tourist destination. So it's a really cute little town square. My dog is named after Jackson Hole. And so it is adorable. There's like, they do a little like cowboy shootout at dinner time, which I don't think we're ever back for, but it's kind of
I'm
cheap.
never back by 6 p.m. No.
Yeah.
PM, whenever it is.
There's like a ton of little restaurants in Wyoming or in Jackson. You could get a tattoo there too if you wanted one. But we'll spend 2 nights there. The next morning you wake up, and I think we're staying in a place called the Antler Motel that first night. Second night, you can get up and this is great. There is little restaurants in town where like legit cowboys come into town and have breakfast. It's wild. So not just fake cowboy shootouts, but actual cowboys the next morning. And on the 8th, we have a little option that people can add on if they want. There is a big river at the base of the Tetons called the Snake River, and you have the option to go whitewater rafting on the Snake River that next morning for like, it's about $100 extra if that's what you decide to do. If not, Jackson is a fantastic place to spend a morning for sure. But yeah, so we can talk a little bit more about that if you want. I don't know if there's another picture of the Tetons. I don't think there is. Nope.
I think, and then our last major field spot is Craters of the Moon National Monument in Idaho. And it is another place that is just pretty unreal to see in real life. It's a bunch of lava flows. We go in something called a lava tube. We hike up a small volcano, and the whole place is just volcanic and really young geologically. So another just pretty amazing place that's relatively small. So we get to kind of travel most of this park. It's definitely the smallest, I would say, at least the place areas we go of the parks that we see, but it has a lot of really interesting igneous features, pretty cool volcanic features.
Idaho itself is really interesting. Like we'll pass through. Idaho has a whole bunch of area that's set aside for like nuclear research. There's so much nothing in Idaho. It's a place that like doesn't even feel like it's part of the United States, but it is. We pass through some tiny little towns, one of which is like the first town in the United States to be like powered by nuclear energy. It's like a weird little place. And we stay that night, I think another Best Western in Idaho Falls. And then we wake up the morning of the 10th and drive back to Salt Lake City. We pick up our plane in Salt Lake City and then we fly back to Rochester. This is just another picture from Craters of the Moon. We do actually a kind of a cool activity with wildflowers in Craters of the Moon, which you can see growing here in cracks in some of the old lava flows. But yeah, so how about we pause here and ask what your questions are now?
I don't have any. It sounds exciting. Um, I just would never have the heart or the guts to go that way on my own. Travel, you know, no funny, but when it comes to minorities, that's not a place. You go south. You go to the Bahamas. But never would you think I'm just gonna hop on a plane by myself and go do that. You know what I'm saying? So I would love to go. That's in my bucket list, basically.
Awesome. We hope it works out. Yes, we also, just to be clear, I appreciate everything you're saying, and I also would not go to Yellowstone myself.
Yes, I mean I see it on TV. I've watched it, looked at National Geographics and,
Mhm.
and magazines, and you're like, oh my God, ooh, 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 and then you're like, but do I have the nerve to go over there like that? So
Honestly,
when I saw it, I said, no way, I'm gonna let this slide. If I can get in this class, I'm gonna do it.
so it could definitely be intimidating, and if it's comforting, like I said before, Professor Colosimo and I have been doing this for a really long time, and we've taken students. You've shared a lot with us. We've taken students from a variety of backgrounds, ages, and everything.
Well,
And
good to
so
hear. 'Cause,
always
I'm 48, so at 48, like those hikes, I'm definitely gonna put my best foot in this one.
we get it. We get it. We have to psych ourselves up for a few of the hikes and we do a little bit of exercise before we head out there. But everyone's always been able to pull it off. And if you can't, you just kind of chill at the bottom and we meet you back there. It's never been a problem. But they're long days and they're physically demanding. So, you know.
Yeah, I'm a bus driver as a living. I drive for RIT, student housing,
Oh, cool.
and so I walk a lot, and I'm an outdoors person. But
Mhm.
it just still, I actually went to California and Vegas, and the air quality is different. So I could just imagine, trying to walk and adjust to that.
Yeah, so it definitely takes a sec, but I would say that like so we 1,000% subscribe to the idea that people should just walk at their own pace, that it isn't a race. And
Yeah,
what you'll see with geologists is that often what we're doing is you see more when you slow down anyway. Like you're just a
yeah.
better observer and you take it all in. And how often are you going to be back to Idaho and Utah? Like we're
This
yeah.
is my point. Like, I could come back and say, I went somewhere that I dreamed of, but just never had the heart to do it, you know?
Awesome.
Awesome. Oh, oh, there's a hand up. Jade, yeah.
So are the snakes poisonous?
Oh my God. I'm scared of those.
I don't think they actually are, and you can avoid them. There's not a ton of snakes. They're just sometimes they're along the trail at the bottom, sometimes they're on the top. Again, we've seen them. I'm pretty sure they're just like some kind of black snake
There's
river.
there are rattlesnakes there for
Oh,
sure
there
too.
are rattlesnakes. Yeah, we've never seen a rattlesnake there or heard
Okay,
one.
I hate to cut you off, but what about boots? Like, should I be getting some rubber high boots for this type of situation? Because I don't want to get bit, and I hate snakes. Like,
No,
that's a pet
I think
peeve.
we've emphasized animals and fear a little bit in this. No, no. I mean, there's no. You need good like hiking shoes or strong, I would say hiking shoes or hiking boots, or even some of the days like people get away with just like strong, sturdy sneakers with a good sole. But I wouldn't dress in fear of being bitten by anything.
Okay, well, that's what I need to know. I meant to ask about the snakes. I was trying to forget about it because,
Oh, yeah,
yeah,
I mean, you go outside and there's animals.
I can live with anything that doesn't slither on its belly. Like, be honest, I'll face a coyote
Well, if
or a
I'm being
wolf
honest,
first.
Professor Calsimo's terrified of snakes, so I like to make snake noises as I walk behind her when I'm out in the field. So, yeah.
I prefer a family of grizzlies to a snake.
I agree with you. I am with you for the professor. I can't deal with the snakes. No, man.
Yeah.
Jade, go ahead. Jade,
Huh?
did you have another
Oh,
question?
yeah, sorry.
Go ahead.
So my oh my gosh. Oh, the bus. Are we taking a bus? So when we're traveling, is it like a separate vans or like a whole bus or what is it we're traveling in?
Great question. Yeah, we'll be traveling in one or two 12-passenger vans is our plan. And so that gives us a lot of flexibility that actually being on a bus doesn't give us. Some of the parking lots in Yellowstone especially are a little small and a little crowded. So it'll allow us to get in places that we didn't. And then we'll also have all of our gear with us and it's reasonably accessible during the day.
And I drive one of the vans, and usually we have maybe like a TA, a student TA driving the second one. So Calcino and I are leading together. Because it does take, even though we've done this there's a lot of decisions and directions and things like that.
Okay. So what
Okay.
about the oh, go ahead, whoever it was.
No, I was just gonna say that I'm wondering if we get to the next few slides, if that's a lot of the logistics. So if that winds up.
Oh, that's probably what you're going to answer because I was going to say as far as like what we need to carry. If we're going to stay in a cabin, that's not the same thing as a hotel. So I'm
Yeah.
sure that there's certain requirements.
Um, yeah. So okay, yeah, let's when we talk
Oh,
about
you're
lots,
breaking up.
yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so because this is a class, it's important for folks to know how they're going to be graded, and it's a little bit more heavy on like when you're out in the field because there's so many more hours when you're out there. So just so you know, 40% of your grade in this class, there's two exams, there's a midterm and a final, which are not easy necessarily tests, but there's two tests. We don't really give a ton of homework, but every class we're doing stuff. So there'll be assignments every class. We usually start a class with like a quick quiz on what we did the week before. We'll do in-class assignments, and then 60% of your grade really comes from what you do out in the field. So every couple days, we'll collect field notebooks and grade your work, and everyone will get better at their field notebooks. It's definitely a skill that you get better at, even over a week's time, you'll see. You'll do sketches in here, you'll collect data in here, and you'll use some of the data in here to do some projects as well. Yeah, do you have anything to add there?
Kind of good. Yeah, let's move on to the next stuff because we're coming on yeah.
Yes, yeah. So this might answer some of the questions for sure. So our cost right now is based on the number of students and basically the number of hotel rooms really that we have to rent each night. So to answer your question about like, you shouldn't pack anything that you wouldn't pack to stay in a hotel. So
Okay.
yeah. So the cost is about $3,000, and depending on the number of students we have, it could be a little bit lower, it could be a little bit higher, not more than like $200 probably either way, 200 or 300. And that also included in that you have to pay like, so it's 4 credit hours. The reason that we do the class, the lecture portion in the spring, is that if you're a full-time student, those 4 credit hours can just roll into your hours that a lot of students are using to be full-time students anyway. So that should be minimized. You do have a lab fee like you would anytime you have a class that has a lab also. So the $3,000 includes most of your meals. We'll talk about which ones they don't in a sec. It includes all of your hotels, your airfare, ground transportation is like driving around in the vans. It includes all your park entrance fees, the luggage fees that airlines assess. But what's not included, and I'll go back if we need to, what's not included are a few breakfasts. So 2 of the breakfasts are days that we're traveling, and 2 of them I think are when we're in like national parks really. And there's cafeteria style breakfast those days. A couple lunches, which again are travel days, and all of your dinners. So we estimate that you'll need like an extra $350 depending on what you want to do. So this is my big disclaimer is that we've had students who absolutely have brought themselves like boxes of Kind bars on this trip and will use that to supplement like breakfasts and lunches and stuff like that. We've also had students who want a nice steak dinner at the end of the night too. So
Yeah.
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 So you'll have that option when we go to dinner for sure. You'll have your nice warm, yummy dinner. If you want to go, but we also stay in places, luckily, that besides when we're in national parks where there's really one option for dinner, and that's the national park restaurant. Typically, it will be in places that are big enough that if you want to grab a slice of pizza for dinner, you can totally do that. And if you want to like eat an elk steak for dinner, you can do that too.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, and then there's the optional whitewater rafting if you want to do that when we're in Jackson as well.
Gotcha.
Let's see. So this is not where we're staying, but this is actually this is the spot that we drive
That's
past.
a nice trip.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
As far as the lodging and stuff, the informational sheet that we're gonna email to all of you, it actually has listed the exact places that we're staying. The only place that's not written on there are it may actually have it, the Lake Yellowstone cabins, but
yeah, they're not on there because we didn't know.
is written on there, so you'll be able to look at the lodging.
Yeah. But yeah, every place we're staying has like walls and doors. It's very exciting.
No
Very
camping,
exciting.
no cooking our own food, none of that.
No.
We're too old for that.
It's true. We're too old.
Yeah. Look, that was hilarious.
So if there is, let us know. That's the end of what we have prepared, but we want to hear what y'all want to know
So
about.
what other questions do you have right now? And you can always like email us questions. And one of the things we didn't talk about is that in order to take this class, we do have to meet everyone. Either both of us we'll have a meeting with you and we'll discuss sort of just make sure that we're all on the same page with the plan and the expectations, because this is a lot of time with the same group of people in small areas. And one of the other things that we didn't mention is when we do talk about lodging, and it might be my fault because I think we moved fast through that. You will be sharing rooms with people. And generally the rooms have 3 to 4 people in them. If you want to request a double, for example, you do have to pay more money. We've never ever had anyone request a single. It might be possible. But some of the places that we're staying are kind of small, so that might be limited. So the rooms you do share. So that's something to also keep in mind. So, and you need permission to take this class from us. Basically, you're not able, even when registration opens, you're not able to register yourself. We have to register you because we have to have like a conversation beforehand.
Understandable.
Yeah.
I guess my question would be concerning, just like you said, the lodging. I don't have an issue with staying with anybody. I'm not a combative individual. I guess if you flagellant, I would have an issue with that, but other than that, or hygiene issues, which I'm sure you guys are screamed at. But other than that, I think that this is going to be a great trip, and I would love to be able to participate. I am in school to become an environmental science teacher, so
Awesome.
this would be up my alley, and I wouldn't want to miss an opportunity to run my mouth about it later, and maybe possibly drag my companion because we travel a lot
That's awesome.
off to something like this because he won't go anywhere like that without me saying it's safe. So you're opening a door for us to try something new.
Oh, we see a few questions in both the chat and then Jade has their hand up there. Let's see, is a trip payment plan in chunks throughout the semester or is it due at the beginning of the semester? Good question.
Great question.
Um,
So go ahead.
you can go ahead.
Well, so typically it's in chunks, but you can pay it all at once if you want to pay it all at once. But typically what'll happen is where registration will open probably in about 2-ish to 3 weeks. So because it's $3,000, it's chunked into about three $1,000 payments. The first, we don't know when the third one will be, but the first one will be due when you get registered. The second one will be due around the end of January, and then the third one will be due around the end of March. And so can financial aid be applied? So yeah, your financial aid, like especially if you get a refund too, you can use that money for the trip. The trip is not, we don't, like MCC doesn't collect money for the trip. That is something we didn't mention. MCC has us work with a travel agency called Dupre Travel. You can pay by credit card or debit card. They put together a website, which is also useful, like if you're like a student who wants money from their parents or grandparents to help pay for the trip, for sure. It's good to have like information for them to see. So they handle all the payments for it. But yeah, so there's also, do you want to talk about scholarships?
Yeah, there are two things I wanted to mention. The website will be available hopefully within the next few days, and so we'll send you guys a link to that so you can look it over. And again, like Professor Colosimo said, if there are other people you're hoping will help support your education financially, the website's a great place to sort of show them what you will be doing and some of the details of the course. And then, oh man, I forgot that wasn't what were you?
We're talking about scholarships.
Oh yeah. I strongly recommend you go on the A to Z index on the MCC website to the letter S and click on scholarships, and you will see piles of scholarships available to students. And you can actually filter them based on different sort of characteristics of yourself and where you are in your education. And many of them are due October 31st. So you want to get in there and do them as soon as possible. Generally, I found that they're between like $500 and $3,000. Some might be a little bit more. But we have a lot of scholarships that don't actually wind up being granted because students aren't applying for them. So I strongly recommend that A to Z index, go to S for scholarship, and there's just lists of them that you can click on. And I think most of the applications are pretty straightforward. There's not a ton that you have to do it, and it's like free money with just a bit of effort.
Jade.
What's your question?
So you actually answered my first one. Thank you for that. What's my other one? Um,
Get it.
oh Lord. Oh my God. I forgot.
It's okay. You can always email us
Okay.
with a
I was
question.
gonna ask, like when you say payments, like say you're a bi-weekly pay person, your payroll.
Yep.
Are you able to like just put whatever you have at that time on it until you pay it down?
We've definitely had students do that before. Usually
Okay.
what they'll do, yeah, you'll talk to the travel agent and she's awesome. Her name's Tammy. And yeah, Dupre has been really good because they do work with students a lot. And so absolutely, like you can put down sometimes you work out a plan with Tammy and put down chunks when you get chunks. So yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that's great to know.
Jade, do you remember your question?
I did. So for in order to have that like meeting with you, what do we have to do? Do we email you or do you email us?
Send us an email. We'll figure out when makes sense for sure.
Okay,
Okay.
and then my second question, was, is there like a certain amount of people that are able, like, is there like a limit?
Yeah.
There's a limit, yes.
So generally the trip, the smallest we've ever run it is 10. The largest we've ever run it, we will never run it that large again. We ran it and had 27 students one time, and it was just like a zoo.
Then
It's
we
just-
had to take a large like bus, and that just was not great.
so practically,
Worried about the bus in the future, but that was not awesome.
so it'll be between 10 and 20 students. 20 will be as big as it gets.
Now,
Okay.
is there like because it a limited space, like every time you do this trip, like how fast does it fill up?
It takes a while. I mean, it probably we hope to have 10 by the end of December. So, I mean, it's hard to say. We usually end up getting some up until early February. We'll end up having people. Sometimes it's just a matter of like figuring out, I'm going to turn off the share. Um, Figuring out if you can get the funds together because it's not an inexpensive trip for sure.
Yeah,
But yeah, so you don't have to worry that by the end of this month it'll be filled. It won't be.
yeah, it's strange because I would put some money away. I didn't know why I did it, and then I got an email, and I'm like about 2 weeks ago, and I said, or a week ago, and I said, "Oh my God, this is what that's for." So that's why I was asking, like, is people kicking doors in, basically trying to get in there.
Yeah.
They're not kicking doors in trying to get in. We've had a decent level of interest, but the interest doesn't, it never matches up with how many people are actually registered.
Gonna follow through on it. I understand.
Sometimes people hear the details and they're like, I don't want to be in a van with a bunch of
I was thinking that was
you know,
yeah, I was thinking like a van, and then but at the same time I was thinking like you can't get discouraged over a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, like that you can't not go because of that,
I mean,
so I get what you're
yeah.
saying.
People
Yeah,
can ask this and tell us it's like literally life changing. So, I mean, you learn amazing geology and it's a great experience.
I
Um,
believe that. So I'm gonna choke down that PB&J if possible, So I don't have any more questions, but I appreciate both of you, for even stepping out and doing something like this continually. So that says something.
It's like the best thing we do.
it
We
is,
love it.
I
it's a
can
lot,
imagine.
but it's
Yeah.
great. Does anyone
So
else have any more? David, do you have any questions, comments,
Oh,
concerns?
Abby just asked a question in the chat.
Oh,
Abby, we do this every other year, pretty much. So next year will be a year off, and then the year after we'll either go back to Yellowstone or we have a colleague who also teaches geology and he does a different field class in off years as well.
Yeah, there's a chance. Okay, David. Yeah, there's a chance there might be a New York State field class next year, but we don't know yet. We haven't gotten that far. But yeah, or he'll do that one the year after. Yeah. So we alternated. It's definitely not every year. Yeah. That would be a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine
Yeah.
traveling is a big responsibility.
It is. It's great, but it is a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, so I would say the next step, we're gonna gather all your emails, which it looks like Professor Colosimo did, and
Yep.
we will send that informational sheet and then some further info on sort of meeting up with us and registering and with the website. Hopefully we'll get that up soon from the travel agent. Anything else, Colosimo, you can think of?
No, yeah, you'll hear from us shortly, and thank you so much for your time today. And if you think of something when we get off, don't be shy and send us an email because we'd love to hear from you.
Will do. You guys have a great evening.
All right, you
It was
too.
nice meeting you.
Nice
Oh,
meeting you too.
Hope to see
All
you guys
right.
again.
Everyone have a great night.
All
You
right.
too.